Are you ready for the quantum age?
Humanity's next step in evolution?
Dream Vision 7 Radio Network invites you to the extraordinary platform of evolutionary voices for the quantum age.
Let's explore. Learn more about this upcoming age where we bridge science with spirituality.
Where potentiality meets reality.
Where we take compassion into action.
Our trailblazers and visionaries will ask the whys, the what-ifs, while igniting continuous possibility.
Come along with us into an age beyond what we know today, where we can grow together in unity consciousness.
Experience evolutionary voices for the quantum age, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on DreamVision7Radio.com. Welcome to What's in Your Way is the Way with your host, Mary O'Malley, inviting you to open to the radical notion that in your life, whatever you perceive to be in your way is the way. In other words, your challenges, whether they be relationships, compulsions, finances, or illness, come with gifts embedded in them that can bring healing and allow you to experience the joy of being fully alive. Mary is a counselor, awakening mentor, inspirational speaker, and the author of What's in the Way is the Way, the gift of our compulsions, belonging to life, and the magical gift of aliveness. What's in Your Way is the Way with Mary O'Malley is part of Evolutionary Voices for the Quantum Age. Heard Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Welcome to What's in Your Way is the Way. And I am your host, Mary O'Malley. And today, we're exploring the preciousness of this living moment. As I'm sharing with you, I'm looking out this large window onto a snowy day with a brilliant blue sky. And I can feel my whole being. There is a lifting and opening, a joy with life. And yet that's oftentimes not how we live. We usually live tight and small. And so much of my life is cultivating ways to ground and open to life as it is right now, whether it's easy or difficult, joyous or sorrowful. One of the things I have done to cultivate this ability to stay open to the preciousness of this moment, no matter what it looks like, is that I have gathered little rocks, these gifts from the earth, and I have put them in a sacred little bowl, and then many years ago, as a dear friend of mine was dying, and the truth of death, the truth of the impermanence of everything came close to the surface, I went to this sacred bowl and counted out 31 rocks. Each one of them represented a day of the month, and I put them in a special bowl alongside of another bowl on my chest of drawers. I then searched and found a beautiful little pouch that a friend had given me years ago with tiny bells on it, and I put it on a cord so I could wear it around my neck. And then, every day of the month, I took a rock from the first bowl, which I called the to-be-lived bowl, and put it in the pouch around my neck. And it reminded me I was being given the gift of another day of life. And as I would fall asleep, as we all do, to the wonder of this moment, the little bells would wake me up and remind me to soften my belly, open my heart, and be present for whatever is. And then at the end of the day, I took the rock out of the pouch and I put it in the second bowl, the already lived bowl. I did this for every day of the month, and then when it was done, I poured the already lived bowl of rocks back into the to-be-lived bowl and began another month. I did this off and on for a number of years, and it was so powerful to watch the to-be-lived bowl empty as the already lived bowl filled. That, along with a little stone around my neck, kept on reminding me that life is a continually changing process and that everything that appears will eventually disappear. That everything which begins will eventually end. This includes your next breath, the time spent listening to this offering, this day, this season, this year, and even your life. You can either be afraid of this, which most minds are, or you can use it to cut through the noise in your life in order to connect with the preciousness of this moment. A meditation master was asked once, how can we find happiness in a world where everything changes? He held up a drinking glass and said, you see this glass? For me, it is already broken. In the meantime, I enjoy it. I drink out of it. Sometimes it reflects the light beautifully. But when I knock it over and it shatters, I say, of course. When I understand that this glass is already broken, every moment with it is precious. Every moment is just as it is, and nothing needs to be otherwise. Now take a moment and let that in. The moment that you are hearing this is precious. It is the only moment where your life is completely brand new. And it is really, truly the only moment that matters. Past and future are just a dream in our minds. Soften your belly. Ground right here. Let this living moment of your life in. But notice that pretty quickly the storyteller takes over again, and we begin to think about life. And it's so easy to forget the preciousness of this moment. Even when there's so much talk about living in the now. I mean, so much so that it's even in advertising. Oh, if you buy this car, it will help you live in the now. And I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, oh, Mary, I don't do living in the now very well. That's because we can't try to live in the now. We're already in the now. So much of what I offer to the world is how to use the light of your accepting attention to see and to literally dissolve all of the clouds in your mind that keep you separate from this living moment. How do we get so far away from it? Because very early on, when we were born, we were wide open to life. But very early on, we relinquished our naturalness. We became what Ram Dass calls a somebody. In fact, he says growing up is somebody training. We learned very quickly that we needed to be an acceptable part of our environment. We needed in order to become what we thought we should be in order to receive the connection that was so deeply needed for survival. And all of this becoming a somebody cut us off from a deep and intimate connection with ourselves and with our life. And if you doubt this happened to you, just think of teenage years. Just think of the horror of a pimple. And the sad thing is that this is even happening younger and younger. There's now 4- and 5-year-olds that are talking about controlling their weight so that they look acceptable. And if you weren't able to purchase the connection you needed in order to, for survival, you then rebelled, and some of us rebelled a lot more than others. And all of this causes us to close our hearts to ourselves. Well, to life too. We put an armor around our heart because the pain of not living from our naturalness anymore, the pain of trying always to be the right kind of somebody was so painful. And we hide this pain deep inside. A really good way to describe this was to imagine that you are a seed. And this seed is cracked open, and it sends its little tendrils of roots down into the deep, rich dirt. And then it sends up this little tendril of life, of this plant that it is to become, and it breaks through the surface, and it begins to create a trunk and branches and leaves and all of that, the trunk, the branches, the leaves of this plant is the somebody training. And what we do is we spend our lives pruning the branches of our tree, all the while longing to be rooted in the ground of our own being again. But we're afraid of that because the deep pain that we had to stuff when we were young is stuffed underground. And so we're afraid to come back to ourselves. We're afraid to become rooted again. We're afraid to be open to life. So your living truth, the essence of who you truly are, becomes buried under layer of wanting your life to be different than what it is, and the fear and the resistance to your own pain. So what I'm saying here is that you don't have to try to open to life. You don't have to try to live the preciousness of every moment. The key is to get to know all the clouds, all the branches, the trees, the leaves of your somebody training, of this conversation in your head that is always trying to do life and do life right. If you doubt this, think of a meeting at work and what happens, right before when you have to do a big presentation. Can you feel that knot of trying in your stomach? But one of the core things you can do is to begin to acknowledge that you do carry a whole deep reservoir of pain inside of you. We all do. So it's easy to see